Now tuning in to Earbud Media. Audio for everyone.
I feel like 5 years have passed since we have spoken with you, and also a week has passed. So that's where I'm currently sitting.
Yeah.
In my truth.
Are you our first repeat guest, Abby? Actually, maybe Abby, you won't know this, but Allie, is Abby our first repeat guest?
I think so.
Yeah.
I feel like that's true.
Yeah. So welcome to a very specific club, a very exclusive club. Yeah. So welcome back.
You only need 8 more repeats before you get a free froyo.
Oh, I'll be there. I'm ready.
Yeah, we will personally send you like a gift card for a froyo.
I feel like I've just been lurking in your Twitter replies for so long. It feels like I just never left.
It's true. You are a core part of the brand of our show.
I agree. For folks who in the past 2 years maybe have either forgotten because these 2 years have been atrocious, or have been asleep, because I've heard that people listen to our podcast while they are asleep, which is a crime. For anyone who has the audacity, Abby, to not know who you are, could you tell folks who you are and all of the various things that you do?
Honestly, I feel like it would be a good podcast to listen to while you fall asleep. Not remembering where you were when you fell asleep is unacceptable, but y'all have kind of soothing voices, so...
That's really
I don't think...
and not true.
Yeah, it's woefully incorrect, but I do appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm Abby Monteil. I'm a writer. I just started as an editor at Apartment Therapy.
Ooh. Go off.
We love apartments as therapy. I haven't even announced it on Twitter yet, so it's not official, but...
Oh my god, we have the exclusive. Breaking
news. Writing about, TV, film, honestly a lot of gay vampire shit, which I guess hence the brand.
Right?
Yeah. we have sourced you multiple times on this show.
I don't know, just Google me, but yeah, I'm very excited to be back. It does feel like a decade in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
and I'm very excited to memorialize this very gay teen vampire show with you.
Oh, God.
May she rest in peace.
Could you tell us, one, how you're doing in the last 2 years that we've spoken? Because we obviously don't talk to you when we're not recording content. And also, something that is bringing you joy.
Yeah, I've been doing good. I've been visiting some family in the Midwest, so it's a nice little break from New York City, where I'm usually. We've been cosplaying fall a little bit for the past few days, which I love. I do genuinely believe fall is the one season where you're not spending it wishing that the weather was something else. It has been rainy, it has been moody, and I am living for that. In terms of a happy thing, my cousin, shout out Brianna, has started watching The X-Files for the first time, so I've been watching that quite a bit with her. Very criminally hot people. Great for anyone. I think especially, shout out bisexuals.
Right. Yeah, truly a bisexual canon right there. That was a gift.
And have unbearable sexual tension, wear the ugliest ties you've ever seen in your life, but it's 90s, so you're living for it. And it's just been very fun to revisit. That's one of my go-to shows to rewatch. Not that it's aged perfectly in terms of marginalized communities, women, much like Twilight, so we love a tie-in. Not that in that way, but it's been really fun. And if you're into Gillian Anderson, I would definitely recommend.
And who isn't,
Yeah, come on now.
I love this. I love this so much. I feel like that's one of the shows we have not discussed enough on the show.
Truly.
When it is, I would say, within the umbrella of things that we talk about.
There's literally a slutty, affectionate vampire episode in LA in season 2, and then there's like a satirical Texas vampire pizza delivery episode in season 5. So,
oh my gosh.
I mean, the parallels are there if you want to look.
Right. Yeah, the red string is
out
connecting.
there, you know? I love that. Thank you so much for reminding me continually that exists. Ugh, what a joy. Cody, how the hell are you?
I'm chilling. I'm out here. I'm vibing. I'm very bad at listening to music, especially new music.
Yeah.
Like, I can't listen to music when I'm working. It's very distracting to me. And then when I go on my hot guy walks, like, I usually listen to, like, an audiobook or a podcast. So my music time is very, like, sporadic, especially in the last few years. But fucking Mix Demi Lovato themselves
Dude.
dropped an album that I did not know was coming. And I was like, okay, I am interested in Demi as a person and a performer. Like, one of the Disney icons that I feel like has the range, you know? And I was like, let me give this a fucking try. And holy shit, guys, it's very good. And I was not expecting this. It is like, it's called Holy Fuck, which is very funny.
Amazing.
I love that. Very like Halsey kind of like religion vibes in the album cover, which I'm very much appreciative of. And it's just like a rock, pop, sometimes metal album in which, you know, they're just like screaming in the way that only their voice can, and like there's a lot of guitars, and it's like very good, and I am jamming to it. I've been outside of like Renaissance, which has always been on repeat. Like this is like, okay, what if Demi Lovato made like an MCR album kind of?
Oh God.
So that is a very unexpected joy that I'm very appreciative of.
I feel like it is hard to find artists who have the range, like vocal range, that Demi has.
Which I appreciate, because Demi's going through the fucking ringer their whole life. So I want them to be mad about things, and like in a beautiful, raw way. And this is giving that to me, and I appreciate it.
I love this. I love this gift.
Yeah. How are you doing, my friend?
I am alive in an absolute defense of everything. Just defying all odds.
It's in spite of everything in the
world. I feel like what is solely sustaining me right now, aside from, I feel like my annual New Girl rewatch, which I can't bring because I feel like I've brought it like every year on the show, is I had incredibly high expectations for A League of Their Own, the TV show TM 2022. Which is why when I started watching it, I was very nervous, because that movie, specifically Gina Davis, was my awakening. I watched that movie way too much as a kid, and that didn't click for me until I was way too old. I was just like, oh, I like sports. You know? Like, I just...
This is not anything internalized in me.
Right. Like, they're just, like, strong women. You know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't I want to watch this growing up? This show is... I will not be able to do it justice. I feel like most of our audience will have watched it. But if you were on the fence because you were like, white women, baseball, no, neither of those things.
Right.
Here's what I'll say. I want you to watch the first episode. It gets a little bit shaky with the writing. And then after that, it is not focused on just the white queer relationships from there.
Mm-hmm.
And it just is everything that I loved about the movie. But I get so many more hours of it.
Right.
It is... so important. I've cried so much, and not in a leftovers crying, where it's like, oh, this will fuck me up, I need to take this to my therapist way, but in a like Ted Lasso way, where it's like, oh, we're covering some heavy topics here, but I'm so utterly charmed, and I'm seeing things I never thought I would see on screen, and that's really important, so I have to cry about that.
Yeah.
Ted Lasso would fucking love the new League of Their Own.
Right? Oh, Everyone's perfect. I have a crush on everyone. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. No, that's an important review.
I would die for all of them.
Yeah.
I think it's also a great antidote, especially after 2022 Persuasion. God bless Dakota, but like all of the like has seen an email phase discourse, like it's been a great antidote to that, because like everyone's fantastic, but like Darcy Carden, I didn't realize how much she has like the inverse of that. Like it looks like she has not seen an email. Honestly, most of them do, and I appreciate it.
Cody, you still haven't seen Persuasion, right?
No, I'm waiting for when we have to watch it.
Yeah, okay. I haven't seen it either. We're going to be covering it in a couple weeks. But I absolutely agree. Darcy is not, he's almost like ahistorical, right? Because like the main thing that people saw was The Good Place. And that's how I had always thought, was like, oh, she's outside of time. She's a robot. Right. And then you see her in this and it's like, no. She was always meant to play this. Right. She was always meant to play in the 40s. I have to stop talking about this because I will just start fawning over how I have a crush on literally everyone in this show.
Yeah, I can hear you blushing.
Abby, it's been 2 years and change. I would say actually when our episode with you came out, it was almost like exactly 2 years, which was oddly well timed.
Yeah, we planned this.
We did this intentionally. For any of the folks who cannot remember, could you give us a refresher on your Twilight backstory and an update on how, if at all, your feelings have changed since we discussed this 2 years ago?
Ooh, great question. I think it feels like ever since 2020, like no time has passed and like a decade has passed, but I think it shows how we're in a slightly better place than 2020 because we were still under house arrest when I did this, and I was still bored enough to write like 2 pages of notes on my Twilight backstory, which you guys are worth it, but I don't have that this time, which is probably a good sign. So I first engaged with Twilight around the time when the first movie came out. That was 2008, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I was like 11 years old. I was like the perfect age for Stephanie to get like her tender hooks into me.
Yeah, you were ripe for it.
Yeah, I thought the original covers were very like, I was like, oh, these are kind of sexy, like the black and red. That's like the color combo. So I thought the covers were really cool.
When do you think she realized that they are like yonic? Do you think she died when that happened?
Yeah, but my internalized misogyny era was starting to like blossom during this time. So I was like, I don't care about like vampire romance. I like Harry Potter, which if you had asked me like which of those authors would be like, you know, had been like very outspoken and terrible, I would not have guessed that Stephenie Meyer would be keeping her mouth shut, amazingly.
Right.
But I don't know, I was just curious. I have this disease where I like to have a take on everything in pop culture, which is probably why I became an entertainment journalist.
I mean, you are talking to 2 people who have a Twilight podcast in 2022, so
as I should.
You're in good company.
So I got the books secretly and read them like secretly in my room. No one was allowed to know. I got the first movie on DVD and watched it on my DVD player and then hid the DVD like under the bed frame. I feel like I've talked about this 10 times. I don't know if it's still under there. I still haven't checked.
Oh my god.
And I was secretly really into it. I was Team Edward, but mostly just because I like winning when it comes to fictional media. So I was like, I think I know where this is going, so I have to intervene. Yeah. Rosalie, a very key part of my like femme lesbian awakening. The salad bowl, that was crucial. Don't know why, I couldn't tell you. And like the eclipse, I really want to do the bride Rosalie with the red eyes for Halloween. I think that would be a slay.
Oh my god.
So I was very into Rosalie and Bella Can I drop a hot take? I feel like I'm gonna get in trouble for
Please.
this. I love
Yes.
Alice. I like Alice and Bella, but it kind of gives like she is dating a guy that was in the Civil War. So it is kind
Yeah.
of giving like girl who like you're obsessed with, but like their boyfriend like has said slurs and shit.
Yeah, right.
So like I think they could overcome that, but yeah, I went to see the last movie the day my dog died because my friend wanted to take my mind off of it, and I thought it would be fine because I knew like how everything happened. And then Carlisle got beheaded, so
We love more trauma.
that day is
Yeah.
burned into my brain. But
Right.
yeah, as I got older, I was like, yeah, obviously there's like the problematic aspects of this, but it is kind of iconic that something like this weird and out there became this popular with so many people. I love Kristen and Rob to death. I would watch anything they're in. Crimes of the Future, I know you guys are discussing soon, and it's like she took all of the little ticks that she got shit for, and she gave like the best like horny David Cronenberg performance,
Yes.
and
Literally.
we thank her for her service. I don't know. I feel like when I was on here last, it was 2020, and like the Twilight Renaissance was really like kind of exploding in a new way for the first time. So I
Yes.
feel like it's become more like an accepted part of just like Gen Z millennial pop culture. Like, oh, it is cold outside. I'm gonna watch the New Moon Depression montage or something to really get in the mood or something.
Right.
And yeah, I heard a rumor that Stephanie finished the Renesmee book, so my feelings will definitely change if that ever sees the light of day. I hope it doesn't.
Yeah, keep it in the vault. Keep that to your deathbed, Stephanie. Don't let that.
And it's been fun to see Rob kind of joke about it more publicly. So yeah, I really hope Cronenberg does that movie with both of them. I think that would be like the perfect full circle moment.
Especially now that I've seen his nastiness now. Because Cody's talked about Cronenberg before, and I'm like, yeah, like, totally, I know film. But now that I've, like, seen it and I understand, I think Rob and Kristen are both sickos, and I think that it actually would
Yes.
fit them very well. And I'm very curious what that would look like. Especially since it seems like Viggo's contractually obligated to be there.
Right. He's his
So,
best boy.
like, what would that even... I need more information.
You know he
actually.
loves Breaking Dawn Part 1. He's like that sicko meme where he's like, ha ha ha, yes.
I don't know, Abby, if I'm ever going to be able to... I somehow, in the past 2 years, I was able to successfully forget because trauma. I don't know that I'm ever going to be able to successfully forget the fact that your dog died, and then the way that your friend thought to support you was to unintentionally, right, subject you to more trauma through...
Yeah,
Breaking
real
Dawn Part
icing on
2.
the cake.
I mean, the ramp up to the battle is kind of a romp, so I think her heart was in the right
Sure,
place,
right.
but... And, like, terrifying CGI babies. I don't know, we were,
Yeah.
like, 14.
Even with the, like, faux battle, you are still seeing the end of a series, which in and of itself is very, like, the end of a dog's life, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a choice that only someone with a still developing brain can make. And I'm really sorry for that.
To be fair, though, the Twilight Breaking Dawn credits that make up, like, half of the movie, that is free therapy to me. Sometimes I'll
Yes.
still look it up on YouTube and see, like, which people got the most cheers in the theater.
Damn.
It's very
Oh my
healing
God.
to me.
I do have to skip through them every time.
No.
Right.
I will cry. And that is, that's my cross to bear, you know?
Yeah, that's okay, you know. You know your
Hey,
truth.
Speaking of crosses, I would love to talk to you about this one piece of current events. Before we get to it, though, Abby, could you tell me, have you read any of the Vampire Academy books?
I think I read, like, 3 of them in 9th
Wow.
grade.
Honestly, you stopped at a good part.
The 2 main girls should date. I did see the bad Zoe Deutsch movie.
Yes.
Teacher, boyfriend, had a really bad wig. So that was unfortunate.
Yes.
I hope they fix that. But I will try this adaptation for sure.
I would love to talk about this trailer here. Cody, how did you feel about this full trailer now that we don't just have a teaser?
Yeah, we finally got official full trailer.
Like a month before release. A final
Right, like, because
trailer.
like, they've been like, here's like 2 frames of 2 shots for the last, 6 months? Like, in Peacock's wrap-up of like, here's all the shows that are coming out sometime, maybe, who knows?
Right.
So we finally get dialogue, we get like context, we get a few minutes of like actual story. I'm still like a little on edge about the whole, the sets just like give me the ick. I don't know what it is. It just feels like very weird to me. Like I just have like weird reservations about it. I think all the casting stuff like is especially for Rose and Lissa, I'm like I see you as like,
it looks good.
This makes sense. Like, and it's very hot and should be gay, but they're cowards probably. So whatever. But
on NBC, never.
Right? Yeah.
Never.
Right, yeah. Absolutely not.
They're just sticking to the time period of 2007. It would never happen.
Right. So I am interested. I'm glad we have more. I would like to see more, and we will. Yeah. But I like that we're at least getting tiny more morsels.
I agree. I do think that what I remember when we watched the teaser was I did feel like the sets they looked very fake and they looked pretty cheap. I think that watching this trailer, they do look better than in the teaser. It does look like they spent more money than I had thought. So I'm curious. I do think that the cast, I think, is going to be the strong suit rather than the sets. Which is fine, because if they don't just cut this off at the first season, like the show that we're going to talk about in a second, then they can change that part. That's an easier fix than changing up the cast.
Right. I'm also a pretty big fan of this poster too that they released. This, like,
I agree.
It's at first I was kind of like, I feel like all Peacock kind of, because I like Peacock shows, they just never promote them and they hate them, so they're like, these don't exist, find it yourself, asshole. And I'm like, okay, geez. And so some of the like marketing stuff with them I feel like are bad, and this one is like encapsulates the vibe. Like, we get Lissa in her like regal little outfit, we get Rose badass hunter baby, we love to see it, and this like drop shadow like spotlight thing on them. I think it captures the vibe. I'm into it.
I'm very curious about how it's going to go. So far they're all very hot and pretty.
Yeah, for sure. Which is crucial.
It looks like better wigs than in the movie.
Yeah. They're all wearing tracksuits, which
start.
I love. Yeah.
I would love to talk about the now deceased first kill.
Forever in our hearts.
Rip. Right.
Abby, could you tell me a little bit about your relationship with the show? Were you planning to watch it originally? How did you start watching the show?
Yeah, so I had heard like a year ago that like, oh, they're gonna do like a lesbian vampire YA show at Netflix, and I was like, okay, Netflix has like 200 shows, so like I'll believe it when I see it. When I saw the promo posters, I was like, wait a second. Because those ones, like, no matter what you think of the show, like, especially for like Sapphic TV, I was raised on the CW, they were not giving us this.
No.
So I was ready. I got the screeners and I was excited. I didn't watch like Vampire Diaries growing up, so I was like, yeah, I feel like they don't invest as much in like Sapphic, like unabashedly like horny teen coming of age stuff, so I was very excited to watch it. Yeah, I think it definitely had potential. I really liked V.E. Schwab, who was one of the co-creators. I read a lot of her books in college. I don't know. It's just sad, guys. This is like a funeral.
Yeah, I mean, everything about this, like, launch, right, was very promising. Like,
Yes.
when we first talked
For
about it,
sure.
we were like, holy shit, the V. Schwab element of it, very exciting. Because this was, like, her first, like, foray into, like, TV, right, to my knowledge?
Yeah.
And then, like, the posters fucking banged. They were awesome. They were like, okay, we're getting, like, real sapphic here. Amazing. Love to see it. And then, rip.
I was so disappointed that we got the news that this had been canceled before I had even been able to start watching it. And before
Right, like-
this episode had even come out, I was like, what the fuck? Like, it had been out for just months. At
Yeah,
this point.
literally 2 months. Less than 2 months. Which feels, like, unseasonably short.
Yeah.
Yeah, the body
like
was
a
still
little-
warm.
Yeah, like, come on, man.
I find that odd, given that they have let other shows on Netflix run for a lot longer for no specific reason. But interesting. Especially because of the fact that when I, a couple days ago, finished this was not supposed to be a limited series. They ended that last episode very much like, oh, what's gonna happen? Like,
Right. Very much a cliffhanger, and it's like,
Right.
uh-oh. Okay. Great. Now we'll never know.
now we'll never know.
I remember going into it being like, no matter how this is, like, given, like, the Sapphic Netflix track record, like, y'all need to wrap this up for now. I mean, bless them for being so confident, but I was right, unfortunately.
I will say that one of the first things I noted in my notes for episode 1 is that I wrote down, Emma Roberts is an executive producer? Interesting.
Yeah, interesting. I will say, too, one thing I'll do, like, a first impression first, just because, like, I had fun with
Yeah.
this.
Yes. Same.
You know, like, it was not, like, offensive to me. I was just like, this is fine. You know, like, I'm having a good time. I'm vaguely interested in what's happening. Whoever did that opening title sequence needs to be in jail
I hated it
for
so
life.
much.
They need to be in prison. Like, you know, I abolish prisons, but only this is the only exception. Because that was every time I had to skip it because I was like, I can't look at this. But what I thought was really good about this show is like, oh, these actors like looked like they were in high school, which I have not seen in a very long time. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, like, you know, Juliet. I'm like, this is a believable, you know, high school person. Like, I feel this. This feels right, you know? Which I was like, oh, how shocking this is in 2022 that, like, people look somewhat their age that they're portraying on TV.
Initially, I was very confused by Jules. And then
Yeah.
as that first episode, and especially the second episode went on, I definitely warmed up to Jules as she started leaning into the fact that she was just a mess.
Right. A true
I feel
chaos
like-
gay. Yeah.
My notes got a lot better after she met Cal, and she was like, oh no, I can't do this.
Right.
And then all of my notes for Cal were great. I was like, I love her. She's so strong.
Yeah. Has never done anything wrong in her life.
No.
I
love
support
her.
women's wrongs.
Her family's great. I would fight to the death for her.
Yeah.
The mechanics of this world were both very confusing, but very interesting to me. Like the fact that initially I was like, oh damn, like these vampires blend in pretty well. That's interesting. Okay, cool. Some of them just like work at the DA's office. Great. That seems right.
Sure.
That's the equivalent of being a doctor here, I guess.
Right.
But then as it goes on, we learn that these monsters, like the general public knows about the monster.
I was so confused about that.
Right.
They
Yeah.
just dropped it
goes
in
out of
halfway through, like,
nowhere.
oh, the last time. I was like, excuse me.
When that's incredibly interesting.
It's like, this town hasn't seen monsters in hundreds of years. And it's like, wait,
What?
where do we go? Sorry, hold on. This is a thing that we've all known about.
That is something that is not usually a part of these types of stories. Of like, oh, the general public knows about this. And that's weird. Like, it reminds me a little bit of like Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, the public knows a little bit. And they're like,
Right.
yeah, fuck this. You messed up our public infrastructure and I couldn't get to work. That's annoying.
Right.
But they dropped it in halfway through the show, and then it became what I imagined it would be, which is about more of, like, prejudice and the, like, twist on mothers against drunk driving, but for monsters.
Yeah. The mams.
Yeah.
I love them so much. They're so funny.
Which is an interesting thing to explore, but you're just gonna drop this in halfway through? What? Nah.
Right. Like, I feel like a main problem of this is, like, the stuff that is most interesting is, like, how the public reacts to monsters and vampires or whatever.
Right.
Oh my god, will they or won't they? Like, Jules
We've all
doesn't want to
seen the
kill
poster.
anyone. Oh my god.
Like, come on.
Right. And it's like, we get it, okay? Like, that is established very early on, and then, like, kind of bloated for a few episodes of, like, ooh, Jules is really, like, unsure of, like, what she's gonna do, ooh woo. And, like, doesn't want to kill anyone. But then it's like, okay, let's get into, like, larger, politics of, like, our things of, like, how we treat monsters and, like, what this means. And it's like, okay, this is a fully different shift, also a little bit more interesting, but also we're throwing it in kind of at the end here, and we don't really get to talk about it in a way that's actually interesting. It's just like, what is going on?
Because some of the lore is, and the world building is stuff that I hadn't seen before, of these things like legacy vampires, like the first, which I guess is kind of like the Volturi, but not, because they're supposed to be like the first, right?
Right.
Which makes sense about why when Jay or Jules, like, bit Cal, she didn't die, and leads to why Theo, Rip,
right,
like, his whole plot line at the end, which, first of all, in my notes from the first episode, like, when Cal and Theo and Apollo go to fight those, like, weird zombie fucking things, I had written down, like, which one of these brothers is gonna die. Like, I knew from the jump.
There's no way.
Like, you don't just have two brothers. Like, one of these dudes is gonna die.
You can't have two brothers and then have them both live.
Also, the CGI on those monsters.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about this.
Ooh.
Netflix obviously did not give them a lot of money, but bless that.
Bless them for trying.
It's just, it was like, and you could see it in weird ways too. Like, it would come out when they had to use CGI on the monsters, and, like, when their FaceTime interface came out, it was like, this is bad, and I don't like it. But there's some of those things with the world building, like when they would talk about the like legacy family meetings, like with the grandmother, which rip to her, by the way. And even like the monster fighting family committee or whatever the fuck, like Cal's
like it's ancient
neighbors.
And then it's just like two families like playing cards and stuff. Like, I think that's so interesting. Like, we get plenty of like vampire royalty, but I don't know, especially like having like this Romeo and Juliet situation. I think that's a really interesting way to like set that up and really build up that like monster hunting mythology. But I don't know, I found myself wanting a lot more of that side of the world building.
Completely.
I agree. And I also think that, like, unfortunately, the relationship between Jules and Cal, especially by the end, was the least interesting part for me. And the interactions between the two actors, like, the chemistry between them was good. Like, I liked it, and I think that exploring, especially the intensity of a first love and how it related to Shakespeare, although that was very on the nose, was good. I think that there was just so many other pieces that I was like, tell me about this world. Like, I think either they needed to just focus on Jules and Cal, or they needed a much longer season to kind of slow down a little bit.
Right.
It was very apparent that it was based on a short story. I almost would have been fine with like a movie where we don't get as much into the world building, but it is very much that like, ooh, enemies to lovers, vampire, sapphic, and we could really just dig into that dynamic, because that sounds like something that I would write in like my notes app in a good way. But yeah, there was just like, they were dangling so many other threads, and it felt like there were all these ideas they came up with in the writer's room, and I thought the pilot, it was, like, obviously, like, the writing was off to a shaky start, but it was strongest when it was doing that kind of twist that, like, Cal knew all along and stuff like that.
Yes.
And you could very much feel, like, once it went off book.
I agree. I think that first episode is really strong,
Mhm.
too.
Yeah.
Especially when they're in the, what was it, the pantry?
Oh,
And the symbolism in the show is really overt. And that's why I can tell, like, this is not for an almost 30-year-old. But I'm like, damn, it's okay. I like it. Like, you're going to have a bottle of cherries fall to the floor and crash when they're about to, like, fuck. I love that. Great.
Right.
Go on.
Give it to me.
I think that's beautiful. But I think that, like, it is very good. The chemistry between them, great. There was just, like, you want me to focus on these two who are very much not going to be together. But you're also dangling in front of me Eleanor, who's very much out to kill everybody.
Right.
There's this snake who gives people bonding bites and has been around since the beginning of time.
Right.
Like,
Tell me more.
yeah, like, please tell me more. And also, like, there's this banished brother who's now with a witch and is trying to, like, end the world. Like, it feels like this story was developed through, like, a generator of the coolest ideas. And
Yeah.
I need you all to just slow down.
We have 10 minutes
Like,
for
we can't
each of them.
speedrun all
Go.
this.
Also, I did feel like the moms, Jules' mom and Cal's mom, had a lot of sexual tension between the
They
two of them.
did.
Yes. Oh my god.
And I found myself very interested in that.
Yeah, like, just
rather than Jules and
give
Cal.
us, like, a prequel series instead, because...
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah.
That is what I wanted to focus on rather than Jules' mom and that guy that she was supposed to marry but didn't.
Right.
Instead of her now snake husband.
Right.
Like,
Her snake boy.
I was like, I don't care about that. I want to talk about the fact that you two keep going into the principal's office and have to have these, like, really stern conversations, and there is so much tension in the air. I could cut it with a knife.
Right. And, like, every time they call each other, it's like, you want to come to my place and discuss this? Or it's like, no, your place is easier. It's like, let's meet in the middle. And it's like, okay, are y'all just gonna, like, fuck already? Like, what's going on? Enough.
Right.
Yeah, the eye fucking alone
Oh,
Yeah.
was unbearable.
Palpable. Yeah.
Something that did take me out of the world a little bit was the modern, I don't know if it's modern, but, like, the very 2020 to 2021 references that they forced Ben often to say.
Poor Ben.
A la his Taylor Swift blanket, the referencing murder hashtags on TikTok, things like that.
Also,
but
like,
that's, you know what, it happens.
just the Netflix trend of, like, blasting whatever pop songs they have the budget for.
Ugh.
Right.
Every single scene. Like, the Slumber Party drop, I did gasp, but at what cost?
Yeah.
It makes me feel like
Agreed.
I'm watching, like, Selling Sunset or something.
Yeah, it's like Whiplash. Yeah. It's like, did all of this budget go into that one Billie Eilish song? And is that why the title
And
sequence
probably,
looks like that?
yeah.
And, like, honestly, I get it, you know? Do what you gotta do.
One thing that also, I will say in, like, the last 2 episodes, is there was supposed to be a lot of, I think I wrote this near the end of episode 7, is there was supposed to be a lot of, like, high stakes between the fight between Cal and Jules at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I had written down, like, this should be really high stakes between the two of them, and yet I don't care. Primarily because I was more focused on Theo at that point.
Right. And
And I
what he
think
was up
that-
to.
Yeah. And I think that has a lot to do with, there are a lot of, one, I think that has to do with the fact that I'm no longer a teenager who was dealing with a first love. And so I'm able to sit back and be like, there are bigger priorities at this time. But also I felt like as a viewer, I was like, you do have bigger problems objectively. and I feel like I'm not I'm not invested at this moment.
Right.
I almost wish that the Theo, like, I know the betrayal at the end is supposed to be the big cliffhanger, RIP, but I don't know, especially given the Netflix track record, I almost wish it had happened, like, earlier, maybe at, like, the midpoint or something, just because, like, the tension between, like, I don't think that would be, like, the first time that it ever happened. Maybe, I don't know, maybe vampires wouldn't want to bite, like, a hunter, but I don't know, I just think that would be super interesting to see, like, if they could come back from that. And just to give that Theo storyline a lot more attention, because I feel like we started getting stuff about his mom, like, towards the end, and I don't know, it was good for the finale, but if you wanted me to care more, I would have liked that a little earlier.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a choice. I also am just not, I feel like I was supposed to care a lot more about Oliver, and I do not remember his girlfriend, the witch's name. But the fact that they were hosting this, like, soiree of all the monsters, and it's like, we run this city now, and it's like, what? Like,
right. Wait a minute.
The fact that it ended with that was a choice, for sure.
I agree. I do think, though, one of the strong points of that last episode, which is now the series finale, was Eleanor's plotline. Because I did not...
Yes.
That character was wild. I didn't really like her.
Just so, like, categorically evil from the jump. And it's like, no
Yeah.
nuance, just vibes. It's like, hell yeah. I love women's wrongs.
I love a flat character.
I feel like people have said this is, like, the most CW a Netflix show has gone, and I get that, but I really felt that with Eleanor, in, like, good ways and bad.
I think that it's something I had seen when this show first came out, and I did not have the context of watching it yet, is that this show should have been better. I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. I think that having to hold a high standard for sapphic shows, or, like, queer shows in general, is rude. Like, just let them be bad.
Yeah, let gay shows be bad. 2022, baby.
Right.
I want garbage.
I've watched a lot of straight shows that are very bad. And I also don't know that this is bad. I just think that it needed more time to breathe.
Yeah. I just feel like 16-year-old me would have definitely been, like, sneakily making GIFs of this on the family computer.
Oh my god.
From the kissing scenes, and I was happy for that part of myself. And also, yeah, there are so many straight shows with main couples that are the most boring element, so...
Right, yeah.
In a way, it's a quality. Like, did I want better from this just because, like, it does unfortunately feel like there is that double standard? Like, yes.
Yeah.
But I was okay with it being, like, fun, cheesy, teen supernatural.
Yeah.
Yes. I agree. Especially just because, like, I like the premise.
Yeah.
I'm interested in the premise. I do want more of it. And so, yeah, I did want it to be better. But also, you know, fuck, I've watched a lot more of a show for a lot less. So,
yeah.
I am not one to judge there. So, I just hope that there were a lot of actors in this that I was really interested by.
Yes.
I think that the Theo, I think, did a really good job, the actor there. I loved Cal's mom. Everything that she was in, like, every scene she was in stole the show for me.
Completely.
And honestly, I think that actress that played Cal was a really good choice, and I would love to see her in more.
Her resume is, like, bad in
really
8th grade, which, like, it's a pretty iconic resume.
Oh,
I'm excited.
I didn't even
for
realize
her.
she was in 8th grade. That's so iconic.
That's wild.
Wow.
Oh, well, rip. To this film.
Yeah. Gone before it even started.
Truly gone before plot lines could even truly be wrapped up.
We barely knew you.
Yeah.
We barely knew you. I'm so glad that you all were able to have an education at an incredibly well-funded school.
Right.
Made no sense, but that's great for you. When this episode comes out, we will be covering the next week the infamous Crimes of the Future.
Yes.
So sickos, we're calling out to you.
Rise up.
You will have plenty of time now to watch that movie. It's gushy, so just be aware. But it's not, I wouldn't say it's scary. So, it's just gushy. So just know that.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that Carlisle would agree that surgery is the new sex?
Oh my god.
I'm so glad that you asked that.
Yeah, honestly, the most important question of our time.
I would say no, but I do think that he would have been part of that organ society. All right, anyways, so you have a week to watch that nasty movie. Prepare yourselves. We have some amazing patrons to thank. Cody, would you like to start us off?
Absolutely. Thank you to Katie Black.
Ooh, thank you to Kylie Menti.
Ow. Thank you to Alex Dornan.
Ooh, thank you to Carrie Goldberg.
Ooh. Thank you to Rebecca Cullen.
Ooh, thank you to Jasmine Anastasia.
Ooh.
Ooh,
Thank you to Megan Pattinson.
ooh, thank you to Cassandra O'Shea.
O'Shea. Thank you to Clara Belikov.
Ooh, thank you to Kati Karp.
Ow.
Ow.
Thank you to Hannah Dragomir.
Ooh, thank you to Hope Castile.
Brr, 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 brr. Thank you to Rachel Ashford.
Oh, thank you to Emerson Kurova.
Brr, brr, brr. Thank you to Maddie Facinelli.
Hell yeah. Thank you to Samara Rinaldi.
Ow.
Ow.
Thank you to Genevieve Morgan.
Ow. Thank you to Tess Avery.
Ooh, ooh. Thank you to Danielle Burke.
Oh, thank you to my mom, your mom, our mom, Kelly Beck.
Mom. Thank you to Sophia Salinger.
Oh, thank you to Laura Forty.
Ooh. Thank you to Dan Zeklos.
Thank you to Maria Swan.
Ooh. Thank you to India Peach.
Ooh, thank you to Emily Ozera.
And last but certainly not least, thank you to Jaylene Ivishkov.
Oh, snap.
Aw, snap.
Abby, I'm waiting on bated breath to know what fanfiction you brought to the space today.
Well, if I remember correctly, the first time I was here, I brought a fanfiction where Edward Cullen went to Disney World to confront a vampirified Walt Disney. So
I believe you.
it's all downhill from here. I went with something a little straightforward, but I think it'll still get the job done. So I obviously had to progress the Rosalie Bella agenda.
Obviously.
So I found Running Away by Dreaming Wolf, and it finds them at, like, kind of a tense confrontation, so I'm gonna read that.
I can't wait.
Alright, here we go. Don't even try to lie, Rosalie. I know who you are, Bella said. Rosalie crossed her arms over her chest and stared at Bella incredulously. I don't run away. But you are. No, I don't. Yes, you do. No, I don't, Rosalie growled lightly, her frustration rising every minute she spent with Bella. Bella just smiled. You can't run away from me forever, Rosalie. I did not. Another lie from you, and I'm doing something irrational. Side note, love this, like, it's giving new vampire Bella. It's not, but I appreciate it. Anyways, Rosalie says, what is that even supposed to mean? Bella shrugged. It is what it is. You're annoying. Rosalie rolled her eyes, and we're gonna be late to class. It didn't bother you when you tried running just minutes ago. As I said, I was not. My patience is wearing thin because of your lies, Bella sighed. Can I shut you up by kissing you? What? Bella slowly closed the distance between the vampire and her, step by step, giving ample amount of time or any form of signal from Rosalie to stop her advances. But to her advantage, and Rosalie's despair, the blonde vampire could not think of anything other than the close proximity between her and Bella. As much as she wants to run away and bury herself somewhere deep in the forest, Rosalie couldn't deny the fact that she does want to be kissed. She wants to be kissed by Bella until she loses all her sense of self and beyond. And scene.
Wow.
I just want you all to know that Abby started reading that at 11:11 my time, so
Make a wish.
that's beautiful.
Right.
That was really hot. Thank you for bringing that into the space.
Of course.
Yes.
I am so glad to continue the tradition of bringing you on every 2 years, and realizing that so much has changed and yet also nothing has changed. I'm looking forward to seeing you in 2024 and you continuing your world domination, moving up into maybe international success at this point.
Yeah.
Who's to say? Abby, where can folks go to support all of the fantastic work that you do?
Well, first of all, thank you for that. I'm thinking Twilight Riverdale crossover or Twilight Glee crossover for 2024. So if anyone has any thoughts, let me know. We have plenty of time. And you can find me at Abby Monteil on Twitter, Instagram, a lot of different websites.
Letterboxd, Yelp,
Ooh,
Google Photos.
deep cut. Hopefully you're writing about some more gay vampire shit.
Hell yeah.
Bringing the gay vampire agenda to apartment therapy, like we've all done.
It's gonna happen.
One can only hope. It has been an absolute joy to have you here. Thank you so much. And as we said 2 years ago, and will continue to say, you have an open invitation, as always, here in this space.
I will be back.
So, continue to use and abuse that and fill up your Froyo punch card. But as we say here in the Pacific Northwest,
Get bit.
and get whipped.
Ooh.
Yay.
Into the Twilight is an Earbud Media production. You can follow us on Twitter at Into the Twilight or on TikTok at Into the Twilight Show. You can find me at Cody Corral on Twitter and Allie at Alexandria Does. And you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/Into the Twilight. We have merch, so much stuff. All those links are in the episode description. And make sure to rate and review us on your favorite podcast hosting platform. It really helps the show. Thanks. Bye.
You've been listening to Earbud Media Production. Earbud Media, audio for everyone.